Greetings, adventurers! Have your players been on the road for weeks? Are they in need of a respite? Are they getting close to a new town, and you need to begin setting up your narrative hooks for this chapter of the campaign? Well, together, let's create our own Roadside Tavern map in Inkarnate that we can use for our adventures. We find ourselves in Inkarnate. Our first step is to create a new map. We can do that by selecting Create New Map button here at the top right of our Map Vaults page. We have several different starting options here, but for the context of this video, I'll be sticking with the fantasy battle maps. If you're looking for something different, I encourage anyone to go ahead and explore to find your flavor of setting. Select style. Let's give our map a name. I'll just stick with Roadside Tavern. Go ahead and fill that however you see fit. Next, we have our resolution and an aspect ratio. I'm usually okay with just leaving this information as the default, but if you want, go ahead and make something different. By all means, select whichever you desire. Then create map. Let it load. And here we have our blank canvas. Now we have a blank map here. I prefer to start with the framework of a map before working on anything else. To do that properly, we'll need to play with Inkarnate's layer system. To add a new layer to our map, navigate to the far right taskbar and select the Add Layer button. For this layer, we're going to want to do a land layer. This creates layers upon the map that can only be affected when acting upon that specific layer. Anything on the layer under it will be done under that topmost layer, hiding a lot of things that we are not ready for our players to see, such as objects or textures, and that's exactly what we want. If you're not really following along with what I'm saying, I can show you later on in the video. Trust the process, adventurer. So, with our new layer selected, we now have this land tool we can use to create a new layer on top of our existing one. So starting out, what I want to do is to paint this whole new layer over with our existing one. To do that, let's go to our land tool, make it wider. We can manipulate our land tool by selecting this shovel icon on the leftmost taskbar. I'll go ahead and open that up, the submenu here, and use the slider to make our land tool size as big as it will go. After we do that, let's paint over our entire map, starting with the topmost. We get to the bottom. Now we can't see anything on the layer on the bottom. That's okay. That's exactly what we want. We're going to slowly reveal that layer as we build out our foundation for our Roadside Tavern. What I'm thinking about for a foundation is maybe create a main complex here in the center, a road at the bottom of our map, a kitchen off to the left side here, and a stable off to the right. However, let's see where the spirit of the artist takes us. Let's go back to our land tool again, setting down the foundation. Let's use this rectangle option here. To keep things even as we do this, let's go to this snap to grid toggle here at the bottom. This will make our land tool snap to certain locations, giving us a very even layout for our framework. Draw out a good size room for our main tavern hub. Select subtract, and there we go. We can see now our bottom layer once again. Moving to our other rooms, let's leave a little 0.5 gap here to indicate locations of our walls, which we'll do a bit later. Next, draw out a rectangular kitchen area. I'll open an area for a door, maybe also the fireplace too. Kitchen is done. I'm going to go very quickly draw out a porch area. Again, leaving room for a door. The main entrance door. Nice. I like it. We'll make a stable, leaving a little room out in the front for a little yard. Finally, let's get a back storage room / tavern owner's room. Make sure we leave some room for the other doors again. Right on. We have a foundation for our tavern. The next thing I would like to do is lay down some textures. Laying down some textures will display the different functions of our rooms, making them feel more real and lived in. So let's go to our left-hand toolbar and select this paintbrush. This is our brush tool. Open up our texture catalog by hitting the F key or by selecting the texture right here. I'm going to throw down some sort of wood plank type texture for the majority of the inside of the tavern. This is a good one here, but as we throw it down, we can see it's a bit too large, and I'm thinking I'm going to shrink that down. So let's reopen the brush tool, navigate to the texture scale slider, and we'll just drag that down to something more manageable. I think around 60 is a good size for what I'm making here. I'm also going to bring down the softness to 0. That is going to be here at the top taskbar. That's going to give our brush really hard edges, throwing down the texture very strongly. We'll make the softness, we'll bring the softness back up later when we're trying to blend our materials, but for now we'll leave that as is for now. We can begin to see the hard work of our layers in action here. As I paint on layer 0, the texture on layer 1 is not being affected, so we can just recklessly paint over all of our exposed areas without affecting our lovely grass here. Nice. But now that texture is down, I'm not really liking the orientation of the planks. I'm not really sure what it is, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is actually rotate the texture by 90 degrees. In the brush tool menu again, head over to the rotation. Just go ahead and slide it to 90 or type 90 in the space here. Yeah, I'm liking that a lot more, so I'm going to go forward with this. As I'm doing this, I just realized I forgot to put in a gap for a couple extra doors here. I'll just fix that right quick. This stuff is super iterative, so never be afraid to correct the mistakes or to make changes of your work. Good. I like this. I'm going to add a lot more details later on, but I'm going to make some subtle changes here to kind of lay out the different functions of each of these spaces. I'm going to make the wood on the porch look worn out and actually throw down some cobblestone floor for the kitchen. You wouldn't really have a wood floor in that space because, you know, exposure to the elements or the heat from the cooking area. So we're going to make it a little bit more realistic to our scene. Moving on, we're going to lay out our tavern's walls. Let's go into our object catalog now and find us a good wall object to use. Let's navigate to our stamp tool. That's going to be that little castle icon here in the left toolbar. By default, we start with some trees. But let's go ahead and open that up by hitting the F key or by selecting the picture of the object here. Now, we have a wide range of fun objects that we can play with. Feel free to explore on your own. For purposes of this video, we're going to go ahead and find us a good wall stamp. We can either sift through all of these stamps, or we can speed up our search by typing something here in the search bar. We're still left with a lot of wall objects though, but now we at least know that all of these objects are at least related to walls. Let's find a good one. This is a good one in my opinion. Let's select it and we can see that it's way too large. We can fix that though. Navigate back to the stamp tool submenu and find the scale slider and let's bring that down some. I already have an idea of how big these should be. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and type 50. I want these walls to be roughly the size of the gaps here. 50 might work. I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger, actually. Let's try 55. Now, I'm noticing that the snap to grid is sort of failing us here, so I'm going to go ahead and switch that back off. I'll start in this corner and then just work my way around, placing down the first wall. And oh! Well, we have something funky going on here. Our wall stamps are actually being laid on layer 0. So it's actually showing up below our top grass layer here. So what we were going to want to do is to have to fix this. Let's go to the right toolbar here, select our object layer and drag it to the top of this list here over layer 1. And we can see that it actually brought our stamp to the top layer, fixing the issue. Easy fix. If you're paying attention, you can see our stamp actually has a number of other stamps contained within it. These are all going to be different sizes, and there's also a piece that we can use to cover up our hard edges. Get creative with it. It doesn't need to be perfect either, because we can throw it. When we go to throw it into our game, we can use the tools in Roll20 to cover up these imperfections. Quick fix. I again realized that I wanted a different texture for our stable too. It's a little odd to have wooden plank ground where there's going to be so much wear and tear from large hoofed animals. So I'm going to correct that really fast. I'm going to use the dirt material that we actually started with and just darken it up some. Awesome. Got that fixed up. Let's continue. Now, let's close up these walls with some doors. Back to the stamp catalog. Let's find a good door for us to use. I'm going to use this double door for our stables. Then I'm going to use the other door here for the inner doors. I'm also going to ensure that these doors are in a sublayer underneath my walls so that it appears underneath them, blending them a lot better. I'm noticing that we have some problems with our outer doors here. Land layers are messed up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and fix this. The kitchen area, I'm going to fix with the land tool. I'm actually going to change and open from the open double doors to the closed ones, just to remove this problem entirely. We got our doors thrown down, and now I want to place down a fireplace. I want it to be like a two-faced fireplace on each side. One on the tavern floor and the other in the kitchen. Let's find a fireplace in our stamp catalog. I like these here. I want to find a bit of cobblestone, put in the middle of it to widen them out as if there was a chimney in there. Looking at it now, I actually want these fireplaces to be the same one, so I'm going to go ahead and make that change. Great. That looks a lot better. So we have the outline of our tavern up. What I'm going to do now is left click and drag, highlighting everything that we have, everything that we've laid out, and I want to lock this. As much of this is unlikely to change, I don't want to accidentally change anything that we have placed here when we go to add more objects on our map. Navigate to the right toolbar and select this arrow to bring out our object hierarchy. And everything selected, click this lock here at the top of the submenu. Now if I go to select any of this on the map, you can see I can no longer click on anything. If there's something here you want to fix, just backtrack to the object hierarchy, select that object, and click that lock again. Let's go ahead and start setting up our rooms. I'm going to begin with our main bar floor. What I'm envisioning is like a L-shaped bar, perhaps a set of stairs on this side. I'm going to open back up our stamp catalog and find what I'm looking for. This bar here is the one I was hoping for. Let's get ahead and get it set up properly. There's our bar. Now let's get those stairs. I like that right there. Let's start filling in the area behind our bar with some shells, maybe some barrels. I think this area over here is going to need some more love. I'm going to get to some more decorations to fill in this emptiness. Brilliant. This is all coming together. Now, I would like to get some bar stools set up right in front of the bar. Awesome. This bar is coming along. Oh, and I just got a notification that I haven't saved. So let's go ahead and do that before we continue. To save, simply navigate to the topmost toolbar, this 3-line icon here in the far left corner, and select save. Or you can just input Control plus S. Moving on to the kitchen, I want some shelves of food. I want a central prep table, maybe a stove, and anything else that would look good in a proper fantasy tavern kitchen. Follow along with me and let's get to cooking! There we go. I'm pretty satisfied with this kitchen. Looks like an ideal place to prepare a hearty meal. We got our kitchen set up. And now, I want to move on to our main tavern floor. I'm going to set up some tables and chairs. Throw down some dishes and mugs to make it all feel well lived in. When we get to our chairs, I like to ensure that these are in a layer underneath our tables so that we can slide them underneath. Make sure they're pushed in, some of them pushed in. We can make them look more natural, so let's make sure that our chairs are at least one layer below the table. Let's set those tables. The bar is looking good. let's work on the back room here. I'm going to set up a trapdoor to the rat-filled cellar, throw in some crates, and whatever else that we might need to make it look like a tavern storage. Moving right along, let's get to our stables. We're going to throw down some stalls for some horses, lay down some hay, toss about some tools. So, our original design here doesn't seem big enough compared to the sizing we actually lay down for our other rooms. Actually, I know that isn't the case because I've already tried to record this once already. We can either resize all the objects we've already laid out, or we can actually just redo our stables entirely. I'm going to go ahead and do the latter. Pause here and come back once you've done that yourselves. Welcome back. I hope you were able to fix the stables on your own after learning all that you learned earlier in this video. We're going to pick up where we left off and continue to breathe life into our stables by, again, adding some stalls, adding some crates, adding some hay, and some workshop tools about. Finishing the stable, let's head back inside for the last time and lay out our tavern keeper's bedroom. I'm thinking it needs a good-sized bed, a desk to manage the ledgers, and whatever other decorations we can find to make it look like a well-lived-in space for our tavern owner and his wife. Amazing. Now our tavern keeper and his wife have a cozy little place to rest when they're not working. Excellent. Looks like we have pretty much finished the inside of our tavern. Now let's get to work on the outside. I want to create a little staging yard out here in front of the stables. You know, add some more hay, some troughs, maybe a cart or something, and just wrap that all in a nice little fence. Let's go ahead and get to work. So we got an awesome looking stable yard, but we actually also have some extra space outside the kitchen over here. We can use that space for a number of logs, maybe stage our firewood, and maybe like a water spout where we can get our fresh water for all our stews and whatnot. Whatever else you think we could place out here. We don't have room for the kitchen. Let's go ahead and throw that down out here. Nice. Still outside, and next I would like to get some more tables set up for any of our patrons that would like to get some fresh air. Should be quick and easy. We've already done it once before. Can you do it? Fantastic. We are almost done now. What I'm going to want to do to finish this all up is to go over a bunch of our materials to add some wear and tear. I'm going to add some pathways, a little bit of other details, some mud, some wet areas around the water. I may also add some other details, like putting some trees outside, and maybe even putting up a nice little sign to welcome our adventurers to the tavern. At this point, adventurers, you should have all the skills to go ahead and make all these finishing details by yourself. Feel free to slow down the video if you need any help, though, and let's go ahead and finish this thing. Amazing work, everyone. Thank you for joining me for this quest, adventurers. If you follow along, hopefully you now have a new Roadside Tavern that you can use in any of your campaigns. If not, hopefully you learned something new, some tips and tricks to be able to create something else entirely for your own adventure. If still not, then, well, I thank you for making it this far. Please like and subscribe for more tips, tricks, and tutorials. If there's something specific that you would like me to cover, please let me know in the comments. Until our next quest, farewell, adventurers.